This is video for section 2.4, part 1. So today we're going to be looking at factoring. Factoring is the opposite of multiplying. Okay, so we can factor to rewrite a polynomial as a product. So we're going from this trinomial back to two binomials. So before we would have two brackets that we're multiplying together and then we get an answer. Here we're taking our answer and we're going backwards to those two brackets. Okay. One thing to be aware of is descending order. So this means that you write the term with the greatest exponent. So let's say you have x to the 3. You write that one first. Then you have an x to the 2. That would be second. Then an x to the 1. Okay. So you write the term with the greatest exponent in the front. Okay, so before we can factor into our two binomials, we need to look for the greatest common factor. You always need to do this step when you're factoring. So we must look for the largest factor that is the same in each term of the polynomial, and we call this the common factor. So we're going to start with this one here. Here we have 3g plus 6. So we have two terms, 3g and a 6. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to start off by looking at our letter. So our letter is G. We see if we have a letter, the same letter in each term. So G and nothing. So we cannot take out a letter because it's not in both terms. Next, we're going to be looking at our number. So here we have a 3 and a 6. So we can divide both of those by 3. So we're going to divide by 3. So when we do this, we write the 3 out in front of the brackets. And then we do 3g divided by 3 is going to give us g. 6 divided by 3 is going to give us 2. Okay? And if you wanted to go back to this, you could take this 3 and multiply it here. You would get 3g. You could take this 3 and multiply it here, and you would get 6. Okay? So this is the division. This is going backwards to a monomial and a binomial. All right, here's this next one. So here we have negative 8y in the first term, and we have 16y squared in the second term. So here, if we're looking, we have y, and we have y squared. So we do have the same letter in each of these. So we know we're going to be dividing by a y. Okay. Now, we look at our letters, and we see what the smallest exponent is. So here, this is y to the 1. This is y to the 2. So we take whatever the smallest exponent is, and that's what we divide by. So we're going to be dividing by y to the 1. Next, we have negative 8, and we have 16. So we can divide both of those by 8. Now, in this case, if there's a negative on whatever is furthest to the left, and we want to remove that, then we divide everything by a negative as well. So here we're going to divide everything by negative 8y. So we're going to write negative 8y because that's what we're taking out, and we're going to open up our bracket. Negative 8y divided by negative 8y is just going to give us 1. Then we have 16 divided by negative 8. That's going to be negative 2. Y to the 2. And then divided by, so remember here we're going to be subtracting the exponents. And this, since there's no exponent written, is y to the 1. So you have 2 and then subtraction, so minus 1. And that's just going to leave you with a y. And just a note, what we did, we had y squared minus 1 is equal to just y. Okay, that's what we did here. Next one. C, here we have 3x squared, 12x, and minus 6. So we start off, we look at our letter. So x, x, no x. So because there's no x in the third term, we can't remove a letter, can't remove an x. Next, we look and see what can we take out. So all of these three numbers divide by 3, so we can take out a 3. So we'll write 3 and then we'll open our bracket. Here, 3x squared divided by 3 is just going to be x squared. 12x divided by 3 is going to be 4x. And negative 6 divided by 3 is going to be negative 2. Next one, we're going to start with our letters. Here we have c, so this term, we have a c to the 4. Here we have a c to the 3. And here we just have a c. So for all of these, we can take a c out. And then 4, 3, and 1. So our lowest exponent is 1. So we can just take out a c. Next one, we have d squared, d. So our lowest exponent is d, just to the 1. All right, next, we're going to look at our numbers. We have minus 20, minus 30, minus 25. So these all divide by 5, so we can take out a 5. And then because this very first number at the front is negative, we're going to also take out a negative, because we don't want that one to be negative. All right, so we took out a negative 5cd. So we have minus 20 divided by minus 5. That gives us a 4. Then we have c to the 4 minus, this is c to the 1. So 4 minus 1 is going to be c to the 3. And then we have d to the 1 minus d to the 1. That's going to be 0, so this d is going to disappear. Next one, we have minus 30 divided by minus 5. So that's going to be plus 6. We have c to the 3. And then we're going to subtract because we're dividing c to the 1. So we end up with c to the 2. And we have d to the 2 divided by d to the 1. So we're going to end up with a d. And then our last one, we have negative 25 divided by negative 5. So that's going to be positive 5. And we have a c to the 1 minus c to the 1. So that's going to disappear, be c to the 0. And then d to the 1 minus the d to the 1. So again, those disappear. So this is our final answer. Okay. So now you're going to do, where's this one? You're going to do page 83, number 4, A to H, and you're going to take out the greatest common factor. In the back of the workbook, it only tells you this part of the answer, but I want you to actually do this whole thing. Find the greatest common factor and then actually divide it out. So in my solutions, if you want to find the accurate answer, you can find the whole part like this in the solutions PDF that I posted. Okay, so for part 1, do page 83, number 4, A to H.